Hi, this is Brent, and this is the second video in the expenses series of training videos. In the first video, we discussed the fundamentals, the background to how the expenses works on the VenBooks platform. And in this video, we're going to discuss how to do those things we talked about in that first video. So if you haven't seen the first expense video yet, please watch that now and then come back to this, otherwise it might not make as much sense. So, how do we do all these things? I think we're going to start by looking at an order summary. So here's a completed order. So let's use this one as our example. So when you're getting set up, you're going to need to set up a few of these things. Miles, total miles traveled, we have that set for 57.5 cents because the IRS set that, so we just did it for you. So let's add a new category for tolls. And so we're going to click this blue button here. Now this is a shortcut to the expenses side of our platform. This is an order summary we're working off now, but there's some shortcuts to quickly do things from here, so you don't have to jump all the way over there. And just so what I'm talking about, up here, expenses. So this is your official expense category where you would add or manage your different expenses. And here is you can log your day-to-day expenses. Again, you have little shortcuts where you can add categories from different places and not just that last window we're at. And then this last one here is to run reports and look at your recent expenses. But for our purposes, and it's a little easier to add stuff on the fly when getting set up, is not to have to jump back and forth and to do it off of here. So I'm going to click on Add Category, and we'll call this Tolls. This is a monetary category. Like I was discussing earlier, we could have a drop down with names on it, or the type of mortgage closing you're doing, or whatever the case may be. That would be statistical. In this case, we're dealing with money, so it's a true expense and not just something that works well within this framework. And we're going to be tracking tolls on a per order basis. And there's no multiplier on this because we're going to be entering these as dollar amounts. You're not going to multiply it times anything. Like miles, you would multiply it times something else. In this case, we're just going to, it's just going to be a dollar amount we're entering in. And that's what this part here is coerced to. If we were creating a new category where you are multiplying something times something else, a set value, then you're going to use arbitrary units. And that arbitrary unit that you're entering, like 24 miles, is being multiplied times a dollar amount and coming up with that total. Or in this case, we're going to be entering in dollar amounts. There's going to be no multiplying or anything. We'll give it a name, tolls for order number, and actually let's use this, copy this. So this is what shows up on your order expense reports. You might do an itemized report of tolls, for example, for your whole year. And if you do an itemized report, it's going to show every entry, and in the description column of that report, what's it going to say? It's going to say tolls for order and then the order number. And if you run this report on as a preview on VenBooks and not generate a PDF or a CSV file, then you can actually click on those order numbers and it'll jump you straight to the order too. So it comes in handy. And you can add different tags too. This is just more for information purposes to show in the description column for each of these expense entries. We already selected dollars, and so we're all set. We're going to click Save. And that new category should be here now, tolls. So, like I said, is dollar amount. This is what we coerce it to, dollar amount. Just type a dollar amount in here, and nothing's being multiplied. It's all grayed out right there. If we changed our mind and decided we wanted to multiply it times an arbitrary unit, probably wouldn't make much sense in many situations, but depending on your categories, some users have like 20-some categories, and some they might actually toggle between a multiplier and a dollar amount that they're just officially typing in. So that would be how you toggle it back and forth. But we're going to we had a $3 toll on this, so you can see how it put the order number in there, and then we're going to update that. And now we have our $3 expense. We got $1.10 mileage, must have been a short drive. 1.19 mile or 1.91 miles, not much. And this is just a default category if you want to keep track of what type of notarial act you're doing. It defaults to mortgage docs. I don't know how this got toggled here, but otherwise it would have stayed as mortgage docs by default. On number of pages printed, so let's say you decided I want to use this method, and you want to use when you first open this up, it's going to show $1, and you're not going to use $1. We just put in $1 just as a placeholder. It's up to you to decide. You work with your accountant. I see 4 and 5 very commonly. I see some as high as 7. Especially people in California like to use 7 cents, but ultimately it just has to be defendable to the IRS. At that 1.001 chance you get audited, you just need to say, hey, I bought all this paper, I buy this printer, I got my laptop, I buy toner all the time, here's some bunch of my receipts, you can look at my Amazon account. At the end of the day, it all adds up to about the same. In most cases, people feel like they come out way on top. And people feel that way about their car too, with the 57.5 cents. If you have a very efficient car, especially if you have a hybrid, you're not spending that much money as you would be driving a guzzler. But so those people feel they come out on top. Someone drives a guzzler, they're going to feel like they don't come on top with the 67.5 cents per mile. So in this situation, let's say we'll leave this, let's say we want to change this to 5. Let's say this is actually still showing 1, which is what it will show for you when you first start. So we're going to quickly edit the category. Again, this is a shortcut to the expenses platform. Since this is a default category, this is some of the stuff's going to be grayed out. So settings, we're going to change that to 5. Oops, too many zeros. 5 cents per page. We're going to leave everything else the same. And you can't change any of that anyways. And save. Just while we have you here, batch edit entries. You might change this to 5 cents partway through the year, but you didn't want to mess up your 2019, which you already changed to, you had it 4 cents. You've already done your taxes. You don't want to go back and mess all those orders up. So you could retroactively go back. Say you wanted to change just to the beginning of this year to 0.05 cents. And then you're going to say do it retroactively, and instead of all time you'll select a date range and just choose this year, for example, or you can do a custom range down here by clicking, it'll open this up. Yeah, but we're just going to do this year. And then if you override the multiplier and put a custom multiplier in, which you rarely do, you got to be really into this and doing some really fun stuff with platforms that have a need for this. But this is just asking you if you want to include those with your batch update, or do you want to ignore those that you overrode the multiplier. So you would click save, and so I did 2 things there. I updated the multiplier from now moving forward to 5 cents, and I also retroactively went back to the beginning of this year. We're in 2020 right now when I'm recording this, the end of it, and that will it updated all those orders without touching any of the 2019 orders or before. So now that we have this set for 5 cents, how many pages did you print? I printed 120 pages, and so actually I printed 240 because I had a printed copy package. So we're going to do 240, update that, and now we have a $12 expense there. And this is all, this will update up here when you refresh your page. That doesn't update in real time. I'm going to prove that to you right now. There it is. Now we're back down to 73.9. And usually your mileage expense is going to be higher. It's rarely you're driving less than a mile or 2 from your house. And the number of notarizations, this depends on your state. The value you put in here is the max amount you can charge in your state for a notarization, for a notarial act. So you might do a refinance, and you might live in California where it's $15 is the max you can charge. You might use your stamp 4 times during that refinance closing, and so your multiplier here would be 15. That would be something we change globally, and you would put in 4. And 4 times 15 is 60. That's $60. What is that $60? That's the portion of the $100 that you earned that is not subject to self-employment taxes on your federal 1040, on your federal filing your federal taxes. That self-employment section, you put in your income, but this part of your income is not subject to that tax. And your self-employment taxes are stuff like your Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, all that. Those FICO taxes is what is summarized in that self-employment tax section on your federal taxes. So this will, depending on the state you're in some case, drastically reduce your taxable income subject to the self-employment taxes on your federal 1040. So let's change this real quick to, let's say I'm in California, so we're going to change this to 15. And we'll just leave everything else the same. Boom, now it's 15. And we did 4 notarizations. And so it's showing $60 of your income. In this case, our income is $90. $60 of that is not subject to those self-employment taxes. So that's a pretty good rundown of how these order tracking expenses are created, managed, and maintained on your individual orders with the values that you're coming up with in your line of work. So that was a detailed rundown of how to manage your order tracking expenses. In the next video, we're going to talk about your generic expenses, your general expenses, and managing categories directly and all that from the expenses tab at the top of your screen. We'll see you in that next video. Thank you very much.